Good afternoon. Today is the 9th of January, 2025. Woohoo! And we just knocked down another beef today, and this is one of our steers. So this guy is 2.5 to 3 years old. He's big. There's his head right there. I'm going to skin that out and get his tongue and his cheeks out. But he was good size. I don't know if he was as big as that Guernsey cow that we just did. I don't know. And all I know about him so far as the inside of the animal goes, or you know how he's gonna rack up as far as eating goes, and how much he'll yield. All I know is what you can see right here. You know, it's hard to know unless you're an expert. And luckily, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy that started doing this 20 years ago and made some observations around the way. So there was one thing that I observed, two things actually I observed today. It's cold as can be outside. And so my work didn't end this morning until about 3. And then I was able to just break off and come in here. And working in here is nice because I got the old wood stove going. It's pretty nice in here. It's probably 60-ish. And I just got some cleanup work to do, actually. The kids and Jill were working in here today, and they started breaking down pigs. Another one was completely broken down, all except for what's left here on this table. And when I finish up today, probably in a little while, there will still be stuff on the tables, but the temperature in here will come down tonight, which is a good thing. So anyway, this is what I learned. I've always been under the impression that a younger animal is a better animal. I've heard that my whole life. And it kind of makes sense, you know, it just kind of makes sense, right? Until you start doing this. So the first one that I showed you a couple of videos back was a Guernsey. She was a milk cow. They're big. They're pretty good sized milk cows. So she was as big as that one. Thing about her though, she was about 8 years old. In very good. All right, we had to reconnect. So she was in very good condition. Excuse me. Except along the way, something went wrong with her uterus, and our AI guy, the guy that artificially inseminates our cows, because we don't keep bulls anymore, said she's not going to calf again. So that was midsummer, and so we kept her out on grass and, you know, just let her be a cow, and we knew that we were going to butcher her come colder weather. And so she was the first one we did because she, you know, she's not productive. She's not milking anymore. And where she's unproductive, she's the first one to go. I guess that was the thought pattern. And it wasn't really a pleasant thing to do, but I was the one that had to shoot her. And then we kind of took it from there. But she was 8 years old. And you'd think, well, you know, we'll just make hamburger out of her and call it good. It'd be good quality hamburger, but that's what we thought. Now, I've had this happen before, and this time I decided I'm going to say something about it like this. So when we let her hang for 3 or 4 days and then split her in half and then brought the pieces in. And one of the first things we wanted to do was take the tenderloins out because we'd been out of beef for a little while. We wanted to take them up to the house and have them. And they were exquisite. I mean, it was an event eating those tenderloins. The tenderloin is a muscle that's on the inside of the animal on the back, kind of towards the rear, and on a cow that size, it's about this big around and about that long. So we took one of them out and thought, well, we'll get a good idea of what's going on here. And even if it was tough, it would still be beef, and we have been out of beef for a couple months, so we really needed some beef. But it was exquisite. So I decided, okay, let's take a look at the loins. The loins are on either side of the backbone, like if on your back, on either side, it's a muscle. On a cow, it's about that big, that goes down the back all the way to the shoulders. And that's where you get your really nice steaks from, T-bones and stuff like that, porterhouses and stuff. And that portion of the animal, we let it sit for about 3 weeks. And what that does is it starts the process of that creature going back to the ground, back to the earth, right? Because if we let it sit here indefinitely, eventually there'd be nothing here. It's gone. It'd just be eaten up by bacteria, unless it got mummified or something. So it kind of has a tendency to tenderize the meat a little bit. Normally in the industry, they say you got to hang a beef for about 10 days. And I don't know. They say a lot of things. They say about an 18-month-old steer is the best. And that's what I want to talk about. So I'm going to show you the steaks that I just cut off the loins. And what you look for in a steak is marbling. So look at how much fat there is on that steak. All right, look at that. That looks to me like what you'd see somebody who's got, a prime Wagyu beef would show that and say, this is it. And we've been eating this. And I tell you what, people here, and I'm in agreement of this, are saying this is some of the best beef we've ever had. Now, is it the breed? Is it the age? Is it the feed? Could be the feed. She's grass-fed, but where she was coming in with the milk cows, or she was one of the milk cows, she was still with them, and they get a dairy ration. So that dairy ration is about a scoop full of small grains, a little bit of molasses, and that's just on there to entice them to come in to get milked. They want to come in for their treats. And then recently I've been giving them bread, right? Organic sourdough bread that I have quite a bit of. And I started them off at 1 loaf at milking time, and now we're up to 4 each. You can't give them too much at first. So, what do we surmise out of this? We surmise that a lot of stuff that we've been told about our food system is maybe not exactly the way we received the information. That's a kind of a tender way of putting it. So this is outstanding beef, 8-year-old Guernsey milk cow that we had to cull. So I'll be able to check this against that beef that we just did this afternoon that's hanging there. That'll be there for a couple days before we take it in half and bring it in. That one, the back on it, or the saddle is what I call it. We take that off, we'll tag it, put it in the cooler, although this year we don't need to put it in the cooler, and just let it age. Just let it shrinks down a little bit, and it starts to, the decomposition process is what starts. You don't want to put it in full sun to do that. You want to keep it, at about 38 degrees is what they say. And, we don't necessarily have 38 degrees in here. It really varies. So it's 70 in here now, but then tomorrow morning it'll be can, with it as cold outside as it is. That's kind of the beauty of this butcher shop. If I need to shut it down for a day or two, I don't have to heat it. So I'm not looking at a big heating bill just to keep it open. I devised the the plumbing so that I can shut it off and we don't have any issues. Another thing that I noticed, because part of what was left for me to do is I'm the one that's got to process the bones. All right, so here's my meat saw, and I put that on there just so you could see it, but that's her back foot. And the back leg was stripped of all the meat, and it was used for different things. And then we just have the bone hanging off and the hoof. So I at this point, I don't really do anything with the hoofs. That's subject to change, because there was a long time where I didn't do anything with the bones. But now I may have to put this down so I can show you this. Let's see if I can get a good example that we can easily show you. So this is a bone that I cut straight across the grain, and then I cut it in half. And you can see that marrow that's on the inside. Now, I've not seen it look like that before. It's never been quite like that before. So I took a knife and I dug into it. Now let me show you this. I need a cameraman. Let's see, where's my knife? Well, I just have to use the old jackknife here. The old Leatherman. So it's almost like cheese. That's marrow right there. And this bone is full of it. So the reason that we do this is because people find that there's a lot of nutrient value in bone broth. And if you're going to make bone broth, you want it from cows that were grass-fed, because the essence is right there in that marrow. Now, I'm not going to do it, but you could eat that right there. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to gross anybody out, but you can. Something else that went on in here today is all the fat now from these beef is, we hang on to it, lovingly hang on to it, and then Jill renders it. Oh, there's a pot right there that she was rendering it in. Let me turn this around. So that's rendered down tallow. And you can see the beautiful color of that. And then she'll scoop it out like with this little pitcher and then pour it into jars. I don't have any jars to show you. Too bad, because it looks really cool. It looks, when it first comes out, it looks about like honey. And it's some of the nicest stuff for cooking in, because it'll solve into whatever you're cooking. It doesn't stay, like when you use cooking oil and it floats to the top of everything. This will actually solve into whatever you're cooking. Like if you're going to stir fry green beans or kohlrabi, maybe, or bok choy. What the hell is bok choy anyway? But if you're going to do that, it solves in really nice, and the flavor is, hands down, it is the best flavor going. And it differs from feedlot cattle in that it's got a much, I think if flavor comes in depths, it's a very deep flavor. It's got a wide spectrum. So pretty neat. And you don't really realize this if you're just working at butchering and you don't know the history of the animals that you're butchering. So it's an interesting place to be because you can see a lot of different things. Anyway, remember, anyone can farm.